In this age of global connectivity, it is hard to imagine that there are still groups of people who live in complete isolation from the rest of the world. These are the uncontacted tribes, who have little or no contact with their neighboring communities or the modern civilization. They live in remote regions of the planet, often in dense forests or on isolated islands, where they have preserved their ancient cultures and traditions for centuries. They face many threats from the outside world, such as deforestation, disease, violence, and exploitation. In this video, we will explore some of the world's most isolated tribes and their habitats, and learn about their unique ways of life, their challenges, and their hopes for the future. Our first destination is the North Sentinel Island, home to the Sentinelese, often dubbed as the world's most isolated tribe. The Sentinelese are part of the Andamanese people who have inhabited the Andaman Islands for tens of thousands of years. The Sentinelese have resisted any contact with the outside world and are known for their violent attacks on anyone who approaches their island. They are estimated to number between 50 and 200, and their language, customs, and beliefs are largely unknown. They live as hunter-gatherers using bows and arrows, spears and clubs to hunt the wildlife on the island, and canoes to fish in the surrounding waters. They also collect honey, fruits, and roots from the forest. They do not practice agriculture, nor do they use fire, metal, or pottery. They live in small huts made of leaves and branches and wear little or no clothing. They are considered a particularly vulnerable tribal group by the government of India, which has declared the island a tribal reserve and banned any travel within 3 miles of it. The Indian authorities have also tried to establish friendly contact with the Sentinelese, but have been met with hostility and rejection. The most recent attempt was in 2018, when an American missionary who illegally visited the island was killed by the tribe. The Sentinelese are fiercely independent and determined to protect their land and culture from any external influence. Our next destination is the Amazon rainforest, where more than 100 uncontacted tribes are believed to exist, according to the advocacy group Survival International. These tribes mostly live in Brazil and Peru, where they have been pushed into the most remote and inaccessible areas of the forest by the encroachment of loggers, miners, ranchers, and settlers. They live in small and nomadic groups, moving from one place to another in search of food and shelter. They hunt, fish, and gather what the forest provides and cultivate crops such as manioc, bananas, and maize. They use blowguns, bows and arrows, and spears as weapons, and make baskets, mats, and hammocks from plant fibers. They paint their bodies with natural dyes and adorn themselves with feathers, bones, and shells. They have their own languages, religions, and rituals, which vary from tribe to tribe. Some of the most isolated tribes in the Amazon are the Kawahiva, the Masho Piro, the Zohi, and the Awa. The Kawahiva are one of the most endangered tribes in the world, as they face constant threats from illegal loggers and land grabbers who invade their territory. The Kawahiva have been forced to adopt a nomadic lifestyle, constantly fleeing from the violence and the destruction of their habitat. They build temporary shelters from palm leaves and leave them behind when they move on. They are also known as the Short People or the Redhead People by nearby tribes who have had occasional and peaceful contact with them. The Kawahiva have a rich and complex culture, which includes singing, dancing, storytelling, and shamanism. They have a deep connection with the forest, which they consider their mother and protector. They are fighting for their survival and their right to live in peace on their ancestral land. The Masho Piro are one of the most elusive tribes in the world, as they rarely show themselves to outsiders and often hide in the dense forest. They have a history of violent clashes with other tribes, settlers, and missionaries who have tried to contact them or convert them. They have also suffered from diseases and massacres brought by the rubber boom, the drug trade, and the oil exploration in the region. The Masho Piro have a nomadic and semi-nomadic lifestyle, depending on the season and the availability of resources. They live in small and scattered groups and build simple huts from palm leaves and branches. They have a sophisticated knowledge of the forest and use plants and animals for food, medicine, and clothing. They have a spiritual and animistic worldview and believe in spirits, ancestors, and mythical beings. They are wary of the outside world and prefer to remain isolated and free. The Zoe are one of the most isolated tribes in the world, who had their first peaceful contact with outsiders in 1987, after decades of being pursued by loggers, missionaries, and prospectors. The Zoe have a sedentary and agricultural lifestyle and live in large communal houses called malokas, where they share food, work, and ceremonies. They cultivate manioc, their staple crop, and also hunt, fish, and gather fruits and nuts from the forest. They use wooden plugs to pierce their lower lips and ears and paint their bodies with red and black patterns. They have a complex and hierarchical society with leaders, shamans, warriors, and healers. They have a cosmology that includes a creator god, a trickster spirit, and a world of the dead. They have a strong sense of identity and pride and have resisted the attempts of outsiders to change their culture and way of life. The Awa are one of the most isolated tribes in the world, who have been living in hiding for centuries due to the invasions and massacres by colonizers, slave traders, and ranchers. The Awa have a nomadic and semi-nomadic lifestyle and live in small and mobile groups, moving from one camp to another every few weeks. They build temporary shelters from palm leaves and vines and use fire to clear paths and attract game. They are expert hunters and trackers and use bows and arrows, traps, and dogs to catch animals. They are also known as the people of the moon, or the people who caress monkeys, because of their close relationship with the forest animals, which they keep as pets and companions. They have a simple and egalitarian society without chiefs or leaders and make decisions by consensus. They have an animistic and shamanic worldview and believe in spirits, dreams, and magic. They are facing a critical situation as their land and lives are threatened by the illegal logging and cattle ranching in the region. These are some of the world's most isolated tribes and their habitats, who have chosen to live in harmony with nature and away from the modern civilization. They are the guardians of their ancestral lands and the custodians of their ancient cultures and traditions. They are also the survivors of centuries of oppression, exploitation, and violence. They have a right to self-determination and a right to be respected and protected. They are not relics of the past, but living peoples with a present and a future. They are not alone, but part of the human family and part of the diversity of life on Earth.